Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to The Bachelor latest news. Although The Bachelor season 29 was successful for Grant Ellis, and after originally feeling like he was deceptive to everyone including Juliana Pasquarosa, I've changed my mind and think he was being true to himself with his decision at the end of the season. Throughout The Bachelor season 29, it was clear that Grant was struggling to figure out what he wanted out of the experience. While Grant wasn't certain about what he was going to do or who he was going to choose until the end of the road, Juliana knew what she was looking for the whole time. Juliana, who was born and raised in Massachusetts, was hopeful about Grant from the beginning of The Bachelor. While Juliana wasn't entirely certain when she met the ex-professional basketballer turned day trader, Grant's time getting to know her on The Bachelor made it clear that he was who she was looking for. Throughout the season, Juliana's social media presence made her tough to root for, but it was clear that her time on screen was different from what Bachelor Nation saw off-screen. Grant had a tough time coming to a conclusion, but I think he stayed true to his gut. Throughout The Bachelor season 29, Grant's behavior was called into question multiple times. While Grant was a great guy throughout The Bachelorette season 21, where he dated Jen Tran until the week before hometown dates, it became clear that he was having a difficult time when it came to his own season. Though he didn't stop being a great guy by any means, Grant struggled to keep himself afloat with all the rejection he had to deliver to the women of his season. As a people pleaser by nature, Grant struggled to see any of the women hurt by his actions. Grant was a people pleaser throughout the season, which was never more clear than when he was facing a rose ceremony. As Grant moved through his season, he developed connections with some women while struggling to connect with others. Grant was able to move through the first episodes fairly seamlessly, but he quickly became cognizant of the women he was letting go of, feeling more pain as the season went on. By the time he got to the end of the season, Grant people-pleased Litia all the way to the finale, not wanting to hurt her feelings with rejection. Although Grant became one of the more difficult parts of The Bachelor season 29 toward the end, it felt clear that he was going to choose Litia over Juliana to Bachelor Nation for weeks ahead of the finale. Grant and Litia's connection seemed to be completely solidified as he got closer and closer to having to make his big decision, and it appeared that Litia also felt confident in her relationship with the Bachelor star. Instead of Grant choosing her and propsing at the end, however, Litia was left shocked and heartbroken when he ended things swiftly and chose Juliana. As the final episode of The Bachelor season 29 came to a close, Litia was gearing up to give Grant a piece of her mind about what had transpired between them during the finale. During the live finale after show, Litia questioned Grant's decision about letting her go because of the way he'd spoken to her as recently as the night before the finale. Sharing that Grant had led her to believe that she was going to be his final choice, Litia made it clear that she was shocked by his choice and found herself questioning Grant's character in the aftermath. As The Bachelor season 29 came to a close, Grant chose Juliana, proposed, and the two have begun their descent into happily ever after. Unfortunately, Grant and Litia's shocking end and Grant's surprise with Juliana shook Bachelor Nation to its core, which meant it took some time for viewers of the show to process what they'd just seen. As Grant and Juliana have been moving forward, Bachelor viewers have had a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that the couple are happily engaged and making moves toward marriage. Although I think Grant made the right decision with Juliana now, I do wonder if the couple will ultimately make it down the aisle. I think Grant and Juliana are on two somewhat different timelines. As Grant started The Bachelor certain that he was ready to jump headfirst into a major commitment. Now, I'm not so sure that he's prepared for marriage in the way he thought he was. On the other hand, Juliana was likely less certain about marriage, But now that she's engaged, I think she's ready. With a pair on 2 different pages, anything is possible. Zoe McGrady is clearing up speculation that she was intimate with Bachelor Grant Ellis in the show's infamous fantasy suites. While commenting on a TikTok video of runner-up Litia claiming Grant, 31, was intimate with someone Zoe, 27, wrote, "Definitely wasn't with. Yes girl, clear your name because people love to assume he only kept you for that reason, which is so disrespectful to you." One user wrote, to which Zoe replied, "Extremely disrespectful." After the Fantasy Suites episode of The Bachelor, Grant sent Zoe packing. He ultimately went on to pop the question to Juliana Pasquarosa after breaking things off with Litia, 31, in the season 29 finale. Litia then said that she would have a lot of questions if she were Juliana, 28, based on their conversations. In the live portion of the finale episode, Litia claimed that Grant said he could stop the show early because he knew she was the one. Grant, for his part, apologized to Litia on air before exclusively telling Us Weekly there was a lot she said that he didn't align with. Following the finale drama, Litia spoke out for the first time on the Friday, April 11, episode of the Relationship *T with Cammy Crawford podcast, and claimed she knew information about Grant's fantasy suites. "I did want to ask you if you found out anything about fantasy suites. Do you know if he was intimate with anyone, or were you like, I don't care, I don't want to know?" Host Cammy Crawford asked Litia, who replied, "Yeah, I know. He told people." Litia clarified that she didn't know this information about Grant when he called it quits in the finale. "We talk about it too. The girls talk about like, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do in this scenario? When this comes up, what are you going to do?" Dinah Lupanque and I both, our families are very religious, and so we were just like, that's going to be a big part of our hometowns. And then how is that going to transfer over to fantasy suites? Litia said of the third runner-up, "Everyone has their own approach about what's best for them and information that they need in order to get engaged to someone, and it's different for everyone. For me, I was just like, a time will come for that part of our relationship, but at the end of the day, I don't feel comfortable," she continued. "If it's me, there will be a time for that later, and if it's not, imagine being intimate with someone that's getting engaged to your friend in a week. I wasn't comfortable with that in myself." Litia, who is Mormon, told Grant on the show that she was not interested in being intimate in the fantasy suites, and wondered whether her decision could have impacted whether the lead got down on one knee. "Do you feel like not being intimate in that way affected his final decision?" Cammy asked, to which Litia said, "Maybe. It could. I think you could pick any one piece apart of our connection and be like, it's that. And I don't know if that's it, and it could be. That would be okay with me if that's the reason. I don't know. It definitely could be." Jerry Turner shared an update on his health since revealing last December that he was diagnosed with an incurable form of cancer. The 73-year-old Golden Bachelor star spoke on the April 15 episode of the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast about how he has been faring since sharing he has a form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma known as Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia. "Until I have any symptoms, there's no treatment. So I go frequently for blood tests," Turner said. "I'm on a 6-month schedule now. I feel optimistic because the doctor has said, well, when you turn 75, we're going to have to go 3-month increments," he continued. "So it's telling me that at least he expects me to live another couple of years to get to that. But the bottom line is I feel really good." Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia transforms white blood cells into cancer cells that build up in bone marrow. and it may not cause symptoms for years because it grows slowly, according to the Mayo Clinic. Symptoms include fatigue, weight loss, fever, swollen lymph nodes, changes in vision and confusion, according to the Mayo Clinic. There's good parts in there. First of all, 20% of the people who have Waldenstrom's never have treatment, Turner said. They outlive it. Something else gets them. Second of all, and I mean this sincerely, from the time I got this diagnosis, it's a privilege to live like you're dying, he continued. I don't turn down anything. I feel like I'm more open to emotions. I'm more open to experiences. Turner also shared how his 2 adult daughters, whom he had with his late first wife, have handled his diagnosis. They're pretty good, he said. It's not like it's talked about a lot. I think they understand the baseline of as long as Dad says he's feeling fine and not having any of those symptoms, we're just going to go on like everything's normal. Turner said in an interview with People in December 2024 that his diagnosis played a part in his breakup with Theresa Nist, whom he married on live TV in January 2024 after they met on The Golden Bachelor. Nist told People that Turner's cancer diagnosis wasn't a factor in ending their marriage, at least not for me. Turner, who lives in Indiana, shared on the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast that he is now in a new relationship. I believe a larger issue is at play between the Golden Bachelorette couple Joan Vassos and Chock Chapel's long-term success besides their relocation issues. Joan originally appeared in the Golden Bachelor Season 1, where she was one of 22 women vying for lead, Jerry Turner's heart. Joan got a coveted one-on-one date with Jerry that solidified her as a frontrunner. However, she left the next day due to a family emergency, but she left such an impact on producers and viewers that she was chosen as the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 lead. Joan had 24 suitors in her season. Chock was an early favorite of Joan's, and they kept their romantic momentum throughout the competition, with Joan ultimately giving Chock her final rose. Since getting engaged during the finale, Joan and Chock have been trying to build their life together, although I've seen them encounter many obstacles. Currently, I know they are mapping out where they want to spend their time as a couple, while navigating other factors such as family involvement, public scrutiny, their career trajectories, and holding their place in Bachelor Nation. But I see one issue standing out among the rest. Joan, 62, is from Rockville, Maryland, where she is the matriarch of her close-knit family. Chock, 61, has his roots in Wichita, Kansas, where his children and family reside. Since their engagement, I've watched the couple try to figure out how to navigate their long-distance relationship, but I don't think it's going well. Originally, they had the intention of traveling between Maryland and Kansas to see each other, but also decided on buying a place in New York City, where they would spend quality couple time. However, I've noticed the pair have been quiet about that NIC settlement ambition recently. What I've seen actually happen is Joan spending more time in Kansas than Chock has in Maryland, which has led to suspicion that Chock wants Joan there permanently. Joan has gone back to Maryland several times recently without Chock, which makes me think that Joan is the one making the most sacrifices. She stated on The Golden Bachelorette that she wanted a partner that fit into her lifestyle, and I don't see that happening. This last week, Joan has been in Kansas once again. This time, she's taking care of Chock as he recovers from eye surgery. I don't believe that the Golden couple intended on having this much chaos when it comes to where they have their time together and how much separation from her family Joan was going to have, but it is cause for concern. Aside from traveling between Maryland, Kansas, and NIC, Joan and Chock go on vacations together, like to Mexico and Northern California, and they attend Bachelor Nation events together as well. I've witnessed a lot of Golden Bachelorette fans voice their discontent with Joan and Chock's arrangement for maintaining their romantic connection. There has been backlash over Joan being in Kansas with Chock most of the time, and I feel her time spent there could mean that's where they'll end up. Kansas is more centrally located for everything the pair does, but I know it's not what Joan had initially envisioned, which is why there is pushback from fans. Joan and Chock are also plagued by the difficulty blending their families. The Golden Match were only able to step out as a couple in mid-November 2024 due to NDAs and contractual roadblocks, but it was just in time for the holidays. Chock spent Thanksgiving and Christmas with Joan's family in Maryland, but I've noticed since then, Joan has been in Kansas with Chock's friends and family. And I don't think it's a good sign Chock hasn't been back to visit Joan's family. During the holidays, Joan made what I felt was a concerning remark about family blend. While Joan didn't expand on what she meant, I'm certain it has to do with the lack of smooth sailing they've encountered trying to incorporate both their families into their relationship. When Chock met Joan's kids in Tahiti, they expressed concern over Chock's intentions, and I don't think they are convinced their mom's engagement is working all that well. In the above Instagram post from Joan and Chock, they discussed the hurdles they've been encountering trying to plan a dual family trip to Disneyland. They have to take into consideration schedules and logistics for the trip, and both of them looked overwhelmed by the upcoming feat. The inability to lead an easy life as a couple with regard to their family blending is a huge red flag for me. Since family is so important to both of them and they, but mostly Joan, are making sacrifices surrounding that, I can understand the public backlash over fans' unsettled views on the pair's long-term viability. While the long distance and family blending issues, I believe, are big points of contention that threaten Joan and Chock's longevity as a couple, another issue stands out as potentially more damaging to me. Joan and Chock have been spending a considerable amount of time launching their influencer careers. I feel they are spending too much time trying to capitalize on their Golden Bachelorette fame and not enough time on figuring out the chaotic nature of their romance. I recognize that the reality TV trend for cast members is to have social media engagement, but I think they are going overboard. They should be focusing on coming up with a better solution to the distance and family issues at the center of their union, and less focused on their career ambitions and relishing the spotlight. I fear Joan and Chock will become too plagued by the logistical problems and ultimately break up. I thought the Golden Bachelorette's Guy Gansert was a shoo-in for the Golden Bachelor Season 2, but I was wrong. The 66-year-old retired ER doctor recently made it clear he would no longer be searching for love on TV. It didn't go well for him the first time around. Guy was among the 24 single golden men who traveled to the iconic Bachelor mansion to date Joan Vassos, 62. Though he made it to her final two, she ended up giving her final rose to 62-year-old insurance executive Chock Chappell instead. Since leaving the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 empty-handed, Guy has been on the shortlist for potential franchise leads. The Golden Bachelor Season 1 and the show needed a replacement for 72-year-old Jerry Turner. As Joan's runner-up, Guy would have been a natural choice. He was one of my personal favorites for the role. For a while, it seemed like he was even angling for the role by posting more often on social media. Instead, it turns out Guy has a new girlfriend and is therefore ineligible to be the Golden Bachelor. Guy caught Joan's eye on the first night of the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 and set himself apart throughout the season. He was the kind of person who other contestants seemed to like. When fellow contestant Kim Blake wanted the other men to sing Joan a song, he was visibly hurt when they all refused him. The only contestant who joined Kim in singing the weird song was Guy. Vi was also there for 66-year-old Charles Ling, who needed help working through the grief of losing his late wife. During the Golden Bachelorette Season 1, Joan traveled to Guy's hometown during her Hometown Visits episode. She met Guy's friends and family, who adored him. She gave Guy one of her final 3 roses, and after 69-year-old Pascal Igboy eliminated himself during his overnight date, the field was narrowed to Guy and Chock. Joan had a difficult choice to make, but she ended up choosing Chock over Guy. Guy seemed like a natural choice to be the Golden Bachelor. As the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 finale was airing, a scandal rocked Bachelor Nation. Things seemed to be going great between Joan and Guy when people reported that his ex-wife, Heidi O'Gara, filed a temporary protective order in October 2021. Guy's ex accused him of having anger issues and making threats. Though Heidi's allegations were troubling, she dropped the order a month later, and it was never officially granted by a judge. Bachelorette Season 1 star explained that he and Heidi were in a bad place at the time. Guy and Heidi were married for 34 years and had 4 children together. Though they had a difficult divorce, they eventually agreed, prompting Heidi to drop the protective order. To me, it sounded like a family drama more than a comment on Guy's character. I was convinced that Guy was sure to be announced as the lead of the Golden Bachelor Season 2, but I was wrong. Guy may have been on the shortlist, but the Golden Bachelorette star recently blew up any hope with a single Instagram post. He recently posted a photo of himself and his new girlfriend, whom he tagged as Johanna Boston, smiling together in front of a giant heart. Guy's caption reads, "I have found my person." Now that Guy is out of the picture, the shortlist of potential golden leads just got even shorter. This gossip is over. If you like the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.